Hello, everyone. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys today. I just had a licensing inspection last Friday. So a lot of this is like super fresh and it just like reiterates and reconfirms some of the things that I'm going to be talking to you today about. I'm going to talk to you about three things today. But this is so important. And the confirmation came from the licensing specialist. And I'll get into that whole backstory in a minute. But what I'm telling you is freaking gold. So whether you are in the position of being an aspiring provider or you are already licensed already and you have an upcoming inspection, either or, this is freaking gold. And so definitely take note. Okay. So I want to give you guys some backstory, but first, let me do my little intro. So glad you're here. I'm Ariana Jay. I have a seven-figure home and community-based agency in Alaska. We have a couple of group homes and clients and services outside of our group homes. Okay, so I consider us a boutique agency. We are not a big agency like ARC and the Hopes and the Focuses and other agencies out there. They're in your city or state. They may be called something different, but I consider myself a boutique agency and we do over seven figures a year and you can too. So I help current and aspiring providers start, grow, scale their seven-figure licensed assisted living group home or community hab business. If you guys are in one of those spaces of either being a current provider or aspiring provider, and you want support, you can go to workwitharianaj.com and apply to work with me. If you are in a position to where you're trying to figure out the business and you need a little bit more support or understanding with that, I have a free mini course, Seven Figure Impact. So if you want the link to that, definitely send me a DM and I'll shoot that right over to you so you can watch it. It is a free mini course. It's jam-packed, tons of excellent feedback on it, like, oh my God, I don't hold anything back in there. So if you want a little bit more context of the business and the models and how to make money, definitely send me a DM so you can get started and get rolling. And that program is absolutely free. So with that, that was a little intro. I'm excited to chat about this today. I'm excited to chat about it today because it was so fresh. And sometimes as a provider, once you're doing the licensing inspection, you start to like take note of, okay, what do I need to do different next time? Or this, take audit, right, of how the inspection went and all the things. So I'm going to give you guys some backstory. Hey, you ready? So my initial inspection, or my biannual, was supposed to be done in September. The licensing specialist canceled 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes before the inspection, okay? So we had everything ready to rock and roll, and they called, actually the supervisor called and canceled the inspection. They called and canceled the inspection after we were already prepped and ready for it, right? So then we get a call and we're like, we want to schedule it. We want to schedule it in it was the end of September. So the inspection was supposed to be in August. She rescheduled it for September and we had it on the 30th, right? So Friday. I had to think about the dates. So this licensing specialist that was supposed to do our inspection, who we originally scheduled with, quit, right? Put in her resignation. She was done. She's great. Like, we really liked her. And everything ran smooth as butter. I knew it was going to run smooth as butter with or without her, right? And so then after we got that notification that she was resigning, we had a new guy. And this guy was a supervisor. Remember, if you guys are coming in live, comment live. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. The new guy who was coming to do the inspection, he was a supervisor. So I'm like, okay, he's going to be a hard ass on all of this stuff. I already knew my systems and processes for my inspections run smooth as butter, but I already know. I know these licensing specialists like the back of my hand. They always have something. They have to prove their title. They have to prove their role, right? Already prepared. So inspection times comes, and it was Andre, my business partner, and then we had our resident manager there, myself, and then the specialist. So he comes in and I'm like, okay, this guy looking a little bit like Bobby Axelrod, you guys know from Billions. I was like, he's going to be a stickler. So we get in, we do the introduction, super nice guy, kind of like straight to the point. And it comes time to deciding what we're going to do. I always lead with a couple of options. Do you want to do the inspection first? Do you want to do paperwork first? Like, where do you want to go first? So he said he wanted to do the paperwork first. Cool, like game, bet. I'm telling you guys, the inspection went smooth as butter because of these three things that I want to talk to you about. Now, I'm going to stop the story there because it's important that we talk about these three things so you guys can gain context of what all happened, right? What I want to say that he said is he usually comes in, providers don't know what's going on, they don't know the reg changes. He said that they used to literally shove over a box of paperwork of all of the paperwork they should be doing and keeping. They shove that over and then tell the licensing specialist, like, go ahead, dive in. There you go. Good luck. He also noted how clean the house was, and they usually don't want to take off their shoes. Some of you providers who are current might know this. He was so taken back by everything that it totally changed his mind, and we had a really good conversation about it towards the end. But we're going to talk about the three things really I think that you need to, one, not only interact with licensing, but to improve your relationship with licensing if it's not the best right now. And these three things are going to help you on a launch pad to make sure that your relationship with licensing is like A+, premier, all of the things, okay? So let's talk about what usually happens with providers. What usually happens is they get stressed out, and I can say this because it was me too, right? They get stressed out when it comes to inspection. They think that they missed something. So a lot of times what providers do, they get really stressed out when it comes to licensing, right? I'm one of them. I did the same thing too. And like a week before, you kind of get flustered, not knowing exactly what to do, not knowing if all of your shit's lined out. All of these things, I remember being a ball of nerves when it was licensing time. And the reason why was because I didn't have these three things down pat. Like I had them, some of them, but not down pat. And they were shutting down places left and right around that time. And I was just nervous, okay? So when I say providers aren't really prepared or there's things missing or XYZ, like it's true because I've been there, right? And so I'm going to talk to you guys about the three things that I really feel are going to help you during your licensing inspection now as a current provider or launching as an aspiring provider. Forgive me if my brain's just a smidgen scattered because of that call. Okay, so the first thing that you need, whether you're a current or aspiring provider going through the licensing process, is you need to have effective communication. Like your communication with your licensing specialist needs to be a game. You don't need to be assuming. You don't need to be trying to read between the lines. Like being direct and effective, kind, because they're always overworked and underpaid, right? Making sure that your communication with your licensing specialist is on point. What could that look like? For me, that could look like them telling me something, and I'll talk to you guys about what this kind of looked like during my inspection, them telling me something and me not just saying okay and taking it, but coming back with, so if I'm understanding you right, you are saying blah, 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 right? And then that really clears it up because sometimes they may say something and then it actually goes against regulation, or regulation is just so vague and you really want them to clarify it. If you can do it in writing, I say it's even better. With me in this situation, I was at the table with our laptops up and doing it that way. So I wanted to reiterate to him what he was saying to make sure that I understood what he was saying, because he was trying to correct me on something, but the regs were it was gray. So it's not that he was wrong or he was right. And it's not that I was wrong or I was right because of the way the regs were. So we chalked it up to we both were right. But what he was saying he wanted to see, I can agree to that. But what I was doing wasn't wrong. And so I had all of the information right in front of me and in front of him. And so, I mean, it was a wash. I'm referring to this. If there is something, and this kind of rolls into number 2, which is know your regs and know your updates. Number 2, knowing your regs and knowing your updates is going to save your ass when you are working with licensing and interacting with licensing or your licensing specialist in the form of an inspection or just calling them or just interacting with them at all, okay? I'm telling you this. So let me tell you the story of what happened. So we were going through paperwork smooth as butter. My systems are dope, okay? And he was like, I've never been through an inspection like this ever, ever, ever. He's never done that. He's a supervisor, okay? So he says, well, on your physician statement, the physician needs to outline the diagnoses in support of the plan of care. My physician statement outlines the diagnosis, right? And so within 30 days, the individual has to go in and they have to be seen by their primary care provider. Great, we do that. But the primary care provider isn't the one who does the diagnosis and the psych eval that the plan of care goes on. So I had my primary physician for the individuals outlined some of their diagnoses, but not the whole thing that was in support of the support plan. So he pulls up the regs and he says, well, your physician statement should have this, this, and this. And I said, it does have this, this, and this. And he says, well, it's not in support of the plan of care. And I say, well, he's not the one who gave the diagnosis for the plan of care. The neuropsych evaluation, the doctor who did that is the one that is getting the plan of care approved based off the diagnosis, right? So they're two different people. The reg says they need to go to see their primary care physician. The reg does not say that the provider who signed off on their neuropsych evaluation is going to be the one that checks that box on the physician statement that residential licensing needs, right? So what he's saying is he wants the diagnosis outlined by that person, but that person isn't their primary care provider. So who's right and who's wrong? Well, we're both right. I have the information, but I know the regs, right? So you don't get into this tit for tat thing when you know the regs and you know what you're doing and you know what your requirements are. So having that effective communication pairs hand in hand with knowing your regs and knowing the requirements, right? Because if I didn't know that, I could be kind of lost, like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Well, are you going to accept this? Are you not going to accept this? Are you going to check the box? Are you not going to check the box? No, he had to check the box because I know my regs. And I told him, let's pull it up. Let's look. And he was like, yeah, he pulled it up. Yeah, you're right. Da, 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 da. So if I didn't know my regs, that could have been a check on me that I would have needed to correct when I didn't need to. So knowing your regs and having that effective communication is going to put you leaps and bounds ahead of other people, and it's going to positively empower your relationship with your licensing specialist, whether it's the same person or a different person every time. I think that's super, super important. The third thing that you're going to need to improve your relationship with residential licensing, whether you're a current or aspiring provider, right, is going to be prepared, okay? When we outline our inspection for our homes, it's wicked. It's great, okay? And inside of the Startup Provider Program, you actually can see the full layout, and you can actually see my former licensing specialist, Jennifer. She was gracious enough to be on camera. So you get to see that full layout when you're inside of that program. I show the full thing to you. And the reason why you need to be prepared is your licensing specialist or your licensing inspection should not take a very long time. For us, this go around, it took about an hour because this individual was new and he was having some computer issues and stuff. And so I was helping him out with that. But when you're running through your paperwork, I used to have my binders there. I did not have any binders this time, like hard paper copies of anything. All of my shit is digital. Everything that he wanted to see, every question he asked, I pulled it up. It was beautifully lined out. And he was just like, whoa, like what just happened? Because we went through the paperwork like that. It was that smooth. It was that easy. When you are looking at doing your disaster kit and whatnot, it's important that they're not scrambling through everything. You should be getting everything checked off that list as quick as possible. And so when you're prepared for your inspection, it's just going to be so much better. And then also just your interactions with that licensing specialist to make their job easier. Like you will be forever memorable if you can make their job easier with interacting with them over phone or email or doing an inspection, right? So he is going to leave with this, or he left with this amazing experience of licensing. So what is that going to do for him for other providers? Well, he's probably going to be a little bit more stringent on them because now he knows the gold standard. Like he knows like this is the best of the best. Like he's never done anything like this before. And so I was really, really proud and pleased that my vibe was calm. I was cool. There was no stress, none of it, because I know my shit's in order. I have systems in the back end that are going to ensure that my shit's in order, and my team is doing things to make sure that we are always prepared for licensing and all that, any inspections, right? And so he knows, he's like, it's a house like this all the time. I'm like, the house is like this every damn day. Like anybody, some of you in this group, maybe you're watching this right now and you've been to my homes. You guys know, like this is how our standard is. Our homes are neat. We're prepared with with licensing. I have great rapport and relationship with our licensing specialists, pretty much anybody who I interact with, and we're prepared and we know our regs, and like, it's golden, it's good. This is how you stand out from the rest, right? So again, whether you are a new provider and you're going to be interacting with licensing, with submitting your application and dealing with an inspection for the first time, make sure that you have some really good, effective communication. You also know the regs and you know the updates, because they do update, my friend. They do update. And so you need to stay abreast to those things. You need to stay on top of them so that you can stand out and you're not struggling and you're not stressed when you have to work with licensing, because you don't want that. You don't want to be stressed out. And I remember I used to not be able to sleep the night before because I was like, is everything in line? You know, I didn't have any support at the time. I didn't have these people on my team that are helping me through this. I didn't have a system. I didn't have any of that. And so now that I do, I mean, it's just like, it's easy breezy. So that's my thoughts on that. I hope that was helpful. So if you are at a place where you are wanting to get started, if you are at a place where you've been trying to get started, you're going in circles, you're frustrated, right? You're trying to figure all of these things out with your startup process, then I encourage you to go to workwithariana.com and apply so you can come inside of our startup provider program and get the assistance and support you need. Toya actually submitted her application today, and I'm super, super excited for her. She's in our program. So if this is something you want support with, if this is something that you wanting to move the needle on before the end of the year, guys, like, this is it. Some of you have been praying about this. You've been begging God for a mentor to show you, and now it's finally here. You guys have the access to it. You have a mentor, you have a program, you have all of these things. It's about if you're ready to take the leap, and if you feel supported in doing so. Because sometimes it's not about just taking the leap. It's about the support in doing so. And so the Startup Provider Program is that program for you. It is going to be the support that you need, the community that you need, so you can get up and started and feel supported in the meantime, right? All around. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go to workwitharianaj.com and apply, and we will review your application. So that is what I have for you guys today. I'm here to support. I'm here to help. If you have questions about the program before you're ready to like take the leap, definitely hit me up in the DM. Let's chat about it. Let's see if this program aligns with you and what you're trying to do. And it might turn out you might not, right? I have declined several people because it doesn't align, right? And it might align for you and not for us, and then vice versa, right? So I want it to be the right fit and the right match. So hit me up in the DM. We can have a quick chat about it if there's some questions that you have about the program, if it's going to be a right fit for you or not. Or you can go directly to workwitharianaj.com and apply, and then we'll review your application from there. All right, my friends, it's so good seeing you as always. I will see you next time. Bye.